What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Cho, Corey Ryan Forster here, WellREDcomedy.com, WellRED comedy.com. That is where you can find out, well, what we have in our merch store, because we're still not back on the road. Hope everybody out there is being safe. We can't wait to get out there, but we don't know when it's going to be. So, for the time being, check out our album, WellRED Live from Lexington, or our book, WellRED. That ain't what it's called. God damn it. We weren't even well read. It's the Liberal Redneck Manifesto, Dragging Dixie Out of the Dark. Also, a couple things for you to check out. New podcasts from all three of us. Drew, of course, has been doing Into the Biscuit for a while with DJ Lewis. Trey has a new one with Smart Mark AG, our buddy who's a guest on here. He also did the Tiger King retrospective podcast with us. They have the Evening Skews, which they do every Tuesday and Thursday live on Facebook if you want to check it out when they're actually doing it. They do a video version. But they also, we got the audio version that I put up here on the feed. It's a very good podcast. Also, my new one, Through the Screen Door, with Corey Ryan Forrester, with my co-host Matt Coon. It is a pop culture podcast with a southern bend. We do monologues, do a lot of stuff. It's been a lot of fun, and I thank you for everyone who has downloaded, subscribed, and told your friends. And if you haven't, please do. It's over on all the podcast apps and at screendoorpod.com. On this episode, we got to talk with a guy who you may remember from the podcast several years ago when we were in Washington, D.C., our buddy Travis Irvine. Just a tremendously tubular dude, one of my favorite people in the entire world. We talk about him being a libertarian currently in Wyoming, and we talk about, among other things, his latest movie, Killer Raccoons 2, Dark Christmas in the Dark, which you can find at Troma.com. It's one of those Troma movies. You can also find it on iTunes, Amazon, Dish TV, DirecTV. You can order it on all those things. It's tremendous. And all three of us, the WellRED boys, have a cameo in there. We play the train conductors. It's really cool. It's a really fun movie. So without further ado, here's the podcast, everybody.
They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got three big old dicks that you can suck.
Well, here we are. We got a hell of an episode for you today. A little later on, we got Travis Irvine. I don't know if y'all remember him, but you should. He's just totally tubular dude. He's coming back to talk about his new smash hit movie, Killer Raccoons 2, Dark Christmas in the Dark. That's a little bit later on. But before that, what's going on, fellers?
Oh, man, I'm just hanging out here at the house, my house sitting for mom and dad. I don't know if you realize, but, we've been talking for like 45 minutes, and the internet ain't fucked up one time. So, what up? Having a blast, staycation.
I would have thought, right. I think I was about to say what you were about to say. I would have thought that all internet in Chickamauga was same internet, because there was only one internet.
Well, the problem is just where I live happens to be literally the cutoff. I'm 200 feet past the cutoff. I had to convince Comcast to even, they didn't want to do it. They're like, man, you're 200 feet out of our zone. So my internet hits 200 feet less than most people. And turns out that's enough to just really not hit.
I got to be honest. I can't wrap my head around that.
Me either. But it is a thing. I agree with you.
I know you have a wireless router.
Yeah.
But they had to wire the internet into your house.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made it not hit?
Just don't hit.
Shitty wires?
Just don't hit.
That last 200 feet, the fucking internet got tired?
I'm telling you.
If you weren't listening or something, maybe, Drew, but it just don't hit.
Yeah, I don't know any other way to explain it other than it don't hit.
It's 200 feet of don't hit, and then his internet's got to traverse all that don't hit before it gets into his house, and then it gets there and it just don't hit.
Yeah, it don't hit.
200 feet less.
But over here at my parents' house, it's hit city, and I think I'm just going to start doing the podcast over here all the time.
Yeah, why not? Doing a podcast from your parents' house?
Yeah, not like that wasn't originally the plan in my life before Trey got a video.
Exactly.
How
fucking hot is it there where y'all are?
It's buddy, it's cooled off, dog. It's only 90 something probably.
Don't hit.
No, I don't know the exact number of days. I wasn't keeping up with it, but it was like triple digits every day for over a week or so here in
6 days in a row of triple digits, 9 or 10 days in a row of like 95 or higher. We're now at 86, and let me tell you, son, it feels like a dream. My Bronco's been in the shop forever, and I just got it out, and it don't got no air conditioning that works, and I just thought I was getting fixed. And driving it home in 86 wasn't it.
Right,
but driving it anywhere in 98, I won't do it.
No, of course not. That's insane.
I broke my leg. I just stay here.
Is it leather seats?
No, it's the Eddie Bauer edition in 85. It wasn't leather yet. It was like 3 years before leather.
I was about to say, if you got leather seats, fucking forget about it. You can literally cook a steak on that motherfucker.
I don't know if we talked about this on here before or not. I'm sure we probably have. But just so anybody don't know, everybody else listening from the South, you hear a lot of talk about dry heat.
Yeah.
How humid it is in the South and all that.
It don't fucking matter.
Out west, it's like, oh, it gets hot, but it's a dry heat.
Yeah.
108 degrees is fucking hot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't give a shit how goddamn dry it is. You can tell a big difference.
For sure.
If
it's the same
dry heat and humidity,
yeah,
you can tell a difference. But when it's fucking over 105 degrees out for days at a time, it is hot.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody bullshit you.
Because
here's my theory on that. People in Charleston,
it's the worst.
Or people who go to Charleston, and they go, well, yeah, it's as hot out west, but it's a dry heat. And then that phrasing or that saying got so popular, people started saying it in Tennessee. But 85 and humid or 80 and humid don't even come close to 100 and dry.
No, of course not.
Like in Charleston, 96 and humid is
unreal.
Literally the worst.
No, it's unbearable. I mean, I think
Katie,
go ahead.
Because we're dumb, me and Katie honeymooned in Charleston in late June, and it was literally over 100 degrees. Over 100 degrees every day we're in Charleston with humidity, and now that is about as bad as it gets outside of probably the Middle East somewhere. I don't know. But
I mean,
this shit is pretty fucking rough too.
I mean, it's
out here.
It's like 80 something here, and it will like rain in the morning and then the sun will come out. And so it's fucking sticky and miserable and shit. But dude, I've been to LA when y'all been having them scorchers and like this all day, like this absolutely all day. Like, once you get past 100, I don't really give a fuck. Dry, wet, fucking sandy. Like it sucks. It don't hit.
What do you think Thompson's thinking right now? God damn, 10 minutes on the weather. Jesus Christ. Are they papaws already? Good Lord. Talk about something else. Fucking idiots.
God, that's fucking great.
You ever mowed in the goddamn heat? Ain't none of you boys did that. I swear to God.
Try mowing in it, you fucking pussy.
Last time any one of you motherfuckers picked up a weed eater, he was wet behind the ears.
Since we're doing this, fuck him. He sent us a picture of his goddamn wife mowing the other day, so I don't want to hear shit about it.
Yeah, but he's been working for that for a long time.
We need to say it was an event. He had to take a picture.
We need to start a new segment called the Thompson Report, and obviously we're not going to have Thompson on, but we just read Thompson's text, like whatever he texts at the end. We just compile all his lunacy into one review of our previous episode, and I'm feeling this one's about to be a fucking doozy.
I actually had something written down in my notes I was thinking about maybe bringing up, but I can't decide how it's going to translate because it might just me having been a little too high or something when I was thinking about it. But it's related to Thompson, so since we're on him, I'm going to bring it up. We'll see. Do y'all have any and I know this is a weird question, you probably don't have an offhand answer to, but any seemingly very minor interactions with people that you remember for ever after that, years and years later? I have one exchange with Thompson that I was thinking about the other night because I was watching this documentary about the history of video games, and it reminded me of this exchange I had with Thompson when we were in high school that I've never forgotten and that I will think of randomly, over the course of my life. And it's a relatively seemingly inconsequential thing that's just always stuck with me. We used to play the shit out of PlayStation, obviously, and we were playing Gran Turismo, which is a racing game.
Son, there's none better.
No, yeah, but king of the racing game franchises for a long time. May still be, I don't know. I'm kind of out of the racing game, but it used to be the tops.
Yeah.
We played the shit out of it. We were playing that one night, and I was playing and I went around some big 180-degree turn. I was trying to drift around it or something. And I got hit by another car, somehow fucked up, and I got knocked into the air and did like a full flip and landed on my wheels, but it was right before the finish line, and so I lost. Like, but that like looked cool, and like Gran Turismo ain't that kind of game. Like that sort of shit almost never happens in that game. It's not like a demolition derby type game or whatever. So I flipped up there and landed, and I lost, and I was like just like sort of ranting. I was like, oh man, god damn it! I was like, I should at least get like bonus points for that or something. And Thompson just goes, what the fuck you gonna do with points? and I just like, because it wasn't, like I said, I was watching this documentary about the history of video games the other night. That's what made me think of it. For a long time, that's all video games was points.
Yeah.
You just score points and you get the high score, and people cared about that. That's all it was. And I feel like it's one of those, I think the reason I've always thought about it is because he said that, and it was like it was the first time in my young, fat, dumb, and don't hit life where I had ever thought to myself, like, oh, right, points are nothing. Like, like
Drew Carey was right.
Points are just stupid. Like they don't mean anything at all.
Yeah.
And so it like has this like hidden level of relevance or whatever. And I bet he's listening right now like, what the it's like Reese Bobby and Talladega Nights. Like, God damn, I was high when I said that. What the fuck are you talking about?
Points are everything.
I don't even remember that shit.
Dude, I got one just like that. It might be just like when you realize you're dumb, like that might be
I got a lot of them.
Yeah. And like
usually y'all tell me and I'm like, you're right.
Well, you remember it maybe because it was like, damn, I was dumb. But also you remember it because you want to remember stuff when you learn it. Yeah. Mine is way less fun, but I just I was playing AAU basketball, and, I'm from Summer Tennessee. I haven't been around a lot of black people. But if you hit at basketball, you get to have black friends. And my friend Brandon was putting on sunscreen, and I was just looking at him, and he goes, what? And I was just looking at him, and he goes, you think black people don't sunburn? And I was like, do black people sunburn? And he goes, fuck yeah, black people sunburn, dude. And I was like, oh, right. Because that, of course, I'm sure not as much or as easily. I think the reason I did that is my tan cousins wouldn't put on sunscreen. They would put on suntan lotion or whatever. But I was the pasty one, so I just associated it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, after that, I just was like, oh. And then the next day at practice, it got hot, and he was like, hey, Drew, I'm really hot. Are my cheeks red? I was like, what? And he's like, I'm just fucking with you.
I can't remember a specific instance of me being particularly dumb. This is one of them right now.
I got a few.
Yeah, go ahead. Let it rip. Kidding. Let it rip.
I'm kidding.
But I do know those. I know it when it happens, and it's happened to me several times where, like, I mean, something's. I'm talking about within the last year. Like something.
I know we act like that's a word one, but to me, that story was very much you being like, oh, it's salsa. That's a Spanish word.
Yeah, well, it's got a one of them. What's it called? Accent marks.
Mexicans. Oh, I thought you meant the logo.
My thing with words. My thing with words is that, like, and this is surprising to probably a lot of people. Especially with the news, I read more than I watch. You know what I'm saying? So I never hear, like, dude, I'm not okay. I just now found out it's Kamala, not Kamala. Just now found that out. Literally. Because first off, I do think that I've heard some people call her Kamala, but secondly, most of the time when I'm reading, when I'm digesting the news, it's reading, and I saw that and I was like, that's Kamala. That's what that is. Also, there's a wrestler named Kamala that spells it the same way. So in my mind, there you go. So with Tapatio, goddamn hot sauce, I probably thought it was patio something at first, and then I seen an accent mark, and I don't know what that means because I didn't take Spanish or are smart in any way, and I just seen it, and I was like, Tapatio. I don't know why. And then forever, I was so confident that I said it in front of y'all. The biggest mistake I could have ever made, but yeah, I thought it was Tapatio. What was the other? I thought something else was something different, but because I'd never heard anybody call
mimosa.
That's an accent thing, I think.
Well, and I feel like a lot of your word things, it's just like you just say words different with that one. And I think I'm wrong from hearing you tell that story. I thought the day you realized it that I kind of watched you process. Oh, like you very much know how to say Spanish words. You just hadn't realized that was a Spanish product.
I mean, no, I knew it was a Spanish product, but like one time I thought it was Tapatio. That was probably the first time I'd ever in my life said it out loud, because I don't ever have to say sauce's names. I buy the goddamn sauce. You know what I mean? I don't ever have to say, Amber, get me some of this sauce, because my ass is the one going to the grocery store. So I just see the sauce. I just see stuff, and the letters are shapes to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not reading it. I'm just like, that looks like that sauce that hits for me. I don't need to fucking know what it's called. I know it's got the little dude on. Listen, if a bottle of red shit has a fucking dude wearing a goddamn sombrero, I'm buying it. I don't give a fuck what it's called. That's my shit. So, yeah, I think I said Tapatio out loud. Y'all both looked at me like, fucking what? And, like, in that moment, I was like, yeah, man, that's clearly wrong. There's no way that's right. But I've done fucking let the dipshit genie out of the bottle, so here we go.
Well, it's funny because I objectively speaking, was being dumb in that first story I told y'all. But I was thinking of, like, more like things that don't seem like
they were that big of a deal.
Something you would remember like for years or forever after that, and not necessarily a dumb thing. There's another one, and this one is more visual, but I'll try to explain it for just the listeners because I think of this all the time. This one's only like 3 years old, but I guarantee you I'll think of this for 20, 30 more goddamn years. We were on the road. We were flying somewhere. I don't remember. It was between cities, I think. I wasn't with y'all in the airport. I was alone in the airport, and I walked through this little like kiosk that was in like the middle of the terminal with just a bunch of little like Hudson News type shit, magazines and whatever. But one,
God, I miss going to Hudson News. How sad is that?
Pretty sad. And there was standing right in front of the cash register was this like 40-ish something year old Karen who was being a total Karen, like a Midwestern Karen, just being a huge bitch to her like 12 or 13-year-old daughter, just bitching about whatever, being unnecessarily
just
rude
not hitting
and whatnot, just not hitting. And then in the middle of like her little tirade, she herself, the Karen, not the daughter, knocked over her stand-up luggage, and her purse was on top of it. And when it fell over, everything spilled out of her purse right on the floor right there.
That's awesome.
And I looked at that on the floor, and then I looked up without meaning to. It's just where my eyes went. And I looked up to the clerk at the cash register, who was a like 19-year-old baby-faced, chubby Asian guy with like round glasses on or whatever, and he's sitting there like he looks dorky is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
with like a baby. He looks like he's 13 years old, but he's probably 19 or something, and he's fat, and he does hit though because he's anyway. I look up from the Karen catastrophe on the ground and see him, and at the time he's looking at the ground too, and he just looks from the ground slowly up to make direct eye contact with me and just goes and makes like the Grinch, like the Grinch smile. The smile I was about to say, the Grinch does from
I was about to say, like, are you doing the Grinch right now? Because your acting classes have been paying off, bro. Because I was like, that's the fucking Grinch smile. That's the perfect cartoon Grinch smile.
Yeah, well, that's what he did. We did not exchange any words at all. I saw that, he saw that, he looked at me, did the Grinch smile, and I just went about my day. But like, I see that dude's face in my head.
I just got a memory.
It pleases me every single time. It makes me happy.
I just got a memory that is one that still I just don't remember it. Still to this day, every now and then will piss me off when I think about it. And this is the only interaction I've really ever had with this dude. It was this, I was spending the night with it was really a buddy of a buddy. Which is why I only interacted with his father once. We were spending the night over at his house, and it was like, I don't know, like 8:30 or 9 in the morning. Like, kids be sleeping longer than that. This is like middle school. Like, we were going to sleep longer than that. And I remember like 8:30, I just hear like like someone clapping above me. And it was me and a couple buddies who would spend the night, and it was their dad, their bald, white-haired dad. And he just looked at us and he goes, "Gentlemen, I believe it's time we moved on." In other words, get the fuck out of my house. Well, this was 8:30 in the morning. None of us had prepared a ride home with our parents or nothing. And there was no cell phones or no shit like that. And he's like, not only saying it, he's like, shepherding us out of the fucking house. I had to walk 3 miles back to my fucking parents' house. God. Just because he was just like, he was ready to start his day, and he'd be goddamn. And every now and then, because his name was Dick, every now and then I'll hear of somebody's name being Dick, and I'll get that image in my mind of him just going, "Boys and gentlemen, I believe it's time we moved on." And I just get so goddamn furious. I'm like, really? Couldn't let me sleep till 11? Just couldn't do that. So yeah, it's one of those. And I never had another experience with that guy again, but I can see it all so fucking clear.
Yeah.
How old were you?
Like 8th grade, maybe 8th grade. Yeah, something like that.
Did your parents give even the semblance of a fuck when you told them you've been forced to walk 3 miles home or whatever?
I mean, I remember them being like, "That was a dick move." Anyways, what's happening on The Sopranos?
Oh, goddamn yard.
yeah, like they definitely acknowledged that they would not have in any way done that to my friends, but no, there was no phone call placed to the dick residence. Hell no.
Right.
They were just glad my ass had to walk 3 miles. It's good. You probably didn't get caught doing something, and that's what you get. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Hello, this is the dick residence. Yeah, we wanted to thank you for making our kid exercise.
Yeah, could you murder him next time? He's a piece of shit, and we hate him. We think he's on drugs already.
I mean, I definitely have flashbulb memories like that for sure. One I'll never forget. My brother friends were hanging out, and Curtis LaRue told a jacking off joke.
Yeah,
and I didn't know what jacking off was. I was like in 5th grade, and I kind of fake laughed when they did. You know what I mean? Like, that was a joke, you know?
Uh-huh.
And he knew, like his face changed. I can remember his face changing, and he went, "Drew don't know what jacking off means," and his face lit up. And Curtis was like 2 years younger than my brother, so 2 years older than me. So he was in between, and he always was trying to be cooler to them by like picking on me. Anyway, I'll never fucking forget it. I burned that.
I hate, dude, that era, that age of boys is just the worst. Like to be hanging out with. Like that reminds me of I remember when I was in 6th grade, I was playing football. And I remember the first day of like, you go in there and it's just like, this is the first time we was ever like changing in front of boys. You know what I mean? Like we didn't do that shit in rec, but this is middle school. So we're going to go in here and take showers and shit.
It's weird how quick it comes, right?
It's like too soon.
No nudity, kid nudity, no nudity. It's bad. And then like, everybody get your dicks out.
Yeah, I'm not for it. I'm not for it at all. So anyways, I remember the first day I was going to take my pants off and then a couple other boys took their pants off and they had like hell of dick hair, especially some of the 8th graders, and I didn't have no dick hair eating at all. Like I've only had any hair for about a 4-year period in my life. I had some hair, and then it all just kind of started not hitting. Now, I mean, goddamn, my ball bush is something else, but I ain't got it up here. Anyways, I digress about how much I don't hit. But anyways, I was like, oh my god, I can't pull my pants down because they've all got hitting bushes and my bush don't hit. And so I just put my gym shorts on and I ran out and I went home and my parents were like, "Why you still stink? Why didn't you take a shower?" And I told them why. And my dad was like, "Oh, hell, son, nobody cares about stuff like that. Just go in there and be proud and take your pants off and let them know you're not scared." And so I was like, "Oh, Dad's right." And I fucking go in there and I take my pants off and I've got my little fucking just, albino turtle dick hanging out. And they made so much fun of me and I cried. And my dad was so wrong. They totally cared. Like, he's like, "No, they won't say shit." And like, yes, they did. Like I got made fun of so fucking bad.
I got a dick one. Yeah, man. The dick ones. Trey, you got a dick one? Dick flash memory? Why you think about your dick as a little kid? It was 4-H camp, and
gross.
I wasn't in junior high yet. I was in 4th or 5th grade, but there were older kids there. Like there was a range of kids, and I saw my first grown-up dick on a little kid.
I remember that.
Dude named Scott, and took his pants off. He'd already hit puberty, is what I mean.
Oh, okay.
And it was like this. He had a chunky dick. Like I don't know how else to describe it. The boy was bulbous in many ways.
Yeah.
And hairy. And I just remember being like, I remember seeing it and thinking his dick looked like a hot dog, and then feeling bad for having that thought. Like I remember being like, you're not supposed to think dicks are hot dogs.
I saw my middle school gym teacher, who was one of the hairiest men alive, completely butt naked, except for he was covered in pie, and that didn't hit. Yeah, it was like field day, and like, so we'd done all this stuff, and then he got pie, like they had the Dunkin' tanks or whatever, and then they had a thing where like, if you do this, you can pie a teacher or whatever. Which by the way, which for the record, let me say that it always
don't happen.
it used to always piss me off. I remember getting in trouble one time for arguing with the teachers because I was like, "This ain't pie. This is a plate of whipped cream." You know what I'm saying? Like, don't say we're
so funny. You were not letting that shit
integrity.
Go. Like,
here was my thing. The reason that I argued about it the first time, God damn it, this don't get no better. It was a raffle, and if you won the raffle, you got to pie the teacher, and I was trying to lobby for, can I just keep the pie?
Yeah, right.
Like, I was like, I don't have hate in my heart for any of these teachers. Like, let me just keep the pie. And they're like, well, it's not a pie, it's just whipped cream on a plate. And I was like, well, you need to fucking call it that then, because this is bullshit. So anyways, they pied the teacher or whatever, and I guess I had to go like get my shorts or whatever to go home, and I get in there, and Coach Culberson is just, I'm talking like he looks like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons, butt naked, so hairy, except for he's just covered in pie. But like the only place that's not covered in pie, obviously, is just his fucking just dick, man. I was like 6th or 7th grade, and that was not it. That is not what I wanted to see. It did, and I can still, like, to this day, like, I barely remember like my first kiss, but I can see his fucking fat, hairy dick with all this fucking pie, just whipped cream on him. Like, don't hit. You know how weird blackface looked? It was that, but white. It was the opposite. It was like a picture negative of fucking Ted Danson at the roast club in '92. Like, it sucked. I don't hit, and I've still got it in my head.
Yeah, weird. I feel like Jason Bateman in Arrested Development right now with that dead dove in the bag, because like weirdly I didn't expect it to go to flashbulb dick memories at all, but like I don't know what I expected. Like, of course, of course that's where it went.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, man, I'm gonna tell this story of this dude, the first man dick I saw on a young person, making me think of hot dogs. I feel a little insecure about this story. It'll be funny. Let me tell it. And then immediately, oh yeah, hot dog dick, buddy. Let me tell you about pie penis.
Mm-hmm.
It's up there for me, man.
Drew, you've been to Europe and shit. What you know about gypsies?
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Well,
I know why you're asking this.
Do you want me to go first, or do you want to just tell me your perspective for why I'm bringing this up? It's a thing I saw on Reddit. I'm very curious, genuine curiosity.
I mean, I've got opinions, but I want to hear
Here's
Drew.
what I know. The Romney people were displaced and traveled. I'm about to get ignorant because I don't know generally the rest of it, but my understanding is the Romney people were displaced. I think it was by war and famine. And they traveled across Europe looking for places to settle. And in France, the word for Egyptian was close to gypsy. And people thought they were Egyptian, the Romney people. So they started calling the Romney people gypsies. And all it meant at that time was Egyptian.
That's their Indians?
Kind of, yeah. And, well, in a lot of ways it's similar to that, because the reason I say in a lot of ways it's similar to Indian is because now gypsy has a different meaning for a lot of people culturally. For a lot of people, it just means like a traveling vagabond type. For a lot of Romney people, they say that gypsy is slur because it's not their real name, and because it's been associated with traveling and quote unquote stealing and nastiness. And they're like, our ancestors were fucking displaced. They were traveling and quote unquote nasty because they were running from war. But other Romney people say, no, that's our word now. Right. And it's fine for you to say that I'm a gypsy. And then other people separate from that say, don't call Romney gypsies, but you're allowed to say gypsy. Other people say, don't ever say gypsy, that's a slur.
Okay. The reason I asked is because I ain't never been to Europe. I'm poor white trash. I don't know shit. I don't know shit about gypsies really at all. I'm vaguely aware of, like, I like the band Go-Go Bordello, you know, like, and I just finished Peaky Blinders.
But let me be clear, before you get in trouble, you're not supposed to call the Romney people gypsies. I'm not
calling anybody gypsies. Okay. I'm saying I barely even know what gypsies are, very vaguely. And I know there's like a thing in Europe where parents telling their kids, like, I'm going to give you to the gypsies or something. that's
right.
about all I know about gypsies.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I was on Reddit the other day, and they got off on a tangent.
They had some really enlightening thoughts about
So they got
gypsies.
off on a tangent. I think it was, I don't remember the source post, but it wasn't about Europe or gypsies or anything, but they got off on a tangent in there about how horribly a lot of Europeans think about and towards and treat gypsies, right? And there were a lot of Americans in there who don't know much about it, who were drawing the comparison to racism in this country. They're like, oh, that sounds familiar. Yeah, Americans certainly know something about that. You know, our issues with racism. And there were all these Europeans like responding to that, like, oh, no. It's nothing. It's nothing like the racism you guys have in America. It's nothing like that at all. And they would try to justify it. And all of their justifications for why it wasn't like racism seemed to basically boil down to
gypsies don't hit.
Exactly. It's like, no, it's nothing like your racism at all. You don't understand. There's a huge difference. Here's what you got to understand. Gypsies don't hit.
It's just crazy.
You're not getting about this. Culturally speaking, they don't hit. They're not raised to hit. It's part of their. It's part of how they grow up. It's just they can't even help it. It's just how they are.
Not realizing that every American is like, yeah, we've heard this origin story.
And every single American is like, how do you not understand?
Yeah,
how this sounds exactly the same. Yeah.
This literally happened to me 2 different times in Australia. 2 different people. Opening question. Well, racism, mate. What's that like?
Yeah.
I don't know. You want to talk about the Aboriginals?
Yeah.
And how you treat them? And then literally what you just described. No. You don't understand, Drew. They are drunks. They like to live in the desert on the land we let them. That's how they prefer to live because they don't like to bathe and stuff. No, Drew. We make them live out there because they're all rapists. It was unreal. I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? And all I can figure out is through culture, like rap and music and stuff like that, the world has decided that Black Americans hit.
Which they do.
They do hit.
Right. Yeah. So our racism towards them is wrong.
Right.
But their own racism towards their people is fine because their people don't hit.
Because they don't hit, right?
I mean, you know, I've never seen like a blockbuster movie about the plight of the Aborigines.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
The closest we had was fucking Crocodile Dundee, you know?
Yeah, and and if there was like whoever the Tupac of the Aborigines is, I've never heard his track about how, I see no changes, which I'm sure that they don't let me hear a lot of Aborigine shit over here is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the Romney people did involve themselves in and help create a lot of culture that frankly was probably stolen and bastardized by the Europeans who are now continuing to shit on them. My view on the Romney, and I don't think everyone holds this, to me, it is very analogous in a lot of ways in terms of their place not their place in the world, but like how we treat them to Native Americans. We just call them Indians. They weren't Indians. Yeah. In my opinion, saying the word Indian now isn't a slur. But if you say something like Indian giver, right, then that's a fucking double whammy there. But if a Native American person told me, don't call me Indian, call me Native, I would happily be like,
of course.
That's fine. And if a Romney person was like, I'm not a fucking gypsy, I'm Romney, I'd be like, okay, cool. Sure. But for me, I don't think the word's a slur, but people do disagree with that very vehemently. I have discovered through our band, Gypsy Speak.
Also, of course, we suck at naming stuff. We don't hit.
That's hilarious.
That goddamn it, that's so
funny.
No, me either.
Well, because that word to me growing up meant like I thought of a white girl first of all, and look, I can see how
Stevie Nicks,
bad.
Bro.
Right, but I can see how that's bad. I can totally see the argument of like,
you're whitewashing
so you're saying that you took a whole culture, made it into a white thing, and you made it stinky and high.
No,
you know
dude,
what I mean?
I'll tell you, like for real, like I think somebody had a bit about this, or it was an episode of TV or something. But like, genuinely, I think there's a lot of people that didn't know gypsies was a thing, other than like they genuinely thought that like gypsies was just like Esmeralda from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like I think they think the word gypsy, it means the same as like wizard. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not saying there is a bunch of people who, like, somebody had a bit, I swear to God, or like I seen a show that they were like, they had just learned that the word, like, hey, you gypped me on that. They just learned that was a slur. And they're like, wait, how is that a slur? And they're like, well, the gypsies, that it was, you know, it's similar to like you Jewed me down, but they were saying the gypsies were cheap. So if you gypped me, and they were like, okay, so what are the elves offended by? and they're like, wait, I need you to tell me that you know that gypsies are a real type of people. And they're like, I'm sure they are in Morador.
Like, what is that from?
I can't remember, but this is exactly how it played out. Now I know it's not a bit. It's like
Community.
it's definitely, it's not Community because I didn't fuck with Community. I need to, but it's definitely, there was some show where, and I remember dying laughing, and I remember being like, I definitely at one point thought that. Like I didn't then, because like, I know stuff. My brain's better than it used to be, but like there's no way clearly. In middle school, I'm certain that I probably thought gypsies and fucking, Merlin was the same shit, just because like the only time I'd ever heard about it was in a movie where they was just wearing gold and turning motherfuckers into gargoyles.
I mostly just,
which is a big part of why it's
offensive.
Yes.
No, I know. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just saying, but like I think some people, it's genuine like ignorance. They're not trying to be dickheads.
What's funny, because I thought also ignorant, and mostly because of fucking the movie Snatch. I thought that gypsies were like just basically their white trash.
Yeah,
like they got the caravans. They're like the trailer people.
Yeah.
So like, if anything, I had like an affinity for gypsies.
Of course, yeah, they hit.
Like, that's just their version. That's just their version of our people, which that is not accurate.
And I
didn't know that.
I'm not saying that it didn't get to a point in European culture, because I don't know, where any traveling group of people were just called gypsies, irrespective of anything else, because that's what that word became to mean. I just know that the origin was the Romany people were at some point called gypsies, which is a variation of the French word. Somebody literally thought they were Egyptian, which in and of itself is racist.
Yeah.
It's like Indian.
You're Indians.
Right. You're Egyptians.
Exactly. But so it's like hard for me to go, well, the word gypsy is in and of itself offensive because it just means Egyptian.
Right. And they're not.
But then once you start breaking down like the history of it, it's like, fuck.
Well, all right.
It's a bad breed.
I guess our band is now just called The Boats, which is fine.
I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I think our band, in my heart, is still called Gypsy Speedboat, because
they're racist.
Our band is a band from the 1970s.
Yeah.
That all died in a motorcycle accident. One motorcycle, the whole band.
That's true.
And
that's what they would have said.
They were called Gypsy Speedboat,
yeah,
but they didn't mean it in any bad way. We now look at them, we place them in history, and we're not proud of the fact that they called.
But you can't rewrite it. No, you can't rewrite it. That reminds me of a fucking. You
can't rewrite this entirely fake history.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break to tell you about our newest sponsor, one I'm very excited about, Lucy. Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that do not suck. Researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients, Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams. Sorry, I can't talk. I need some Lucy gum, is what I need, with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in 3 flavors, wintergreen, cinnamon, and my personal favorite, pomegranate. Lucy also has a lozenge with 4 milligrams of nicotine in cherry ice flavor. Each and every flavor actually tastes great. I've tried them all, and it's convenient and discreet. Products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, even in the gym. So, guys, if you're listening, this is your boy Corey Ryan Forster, the show. When they sent us our package of nicotine, Lucy nicotine gum, I was vaping, and I've been off of regular cigarettes for 2 years, and I was like, well, I'll just vape, and that's better for me, and then I'll wean myself off of the vaping somehow. I'll just vape less, like that's a thing that's going to work. And I never did. And so for 2 years, I've just been vaping, which I still maintain is better. But like I wasn't quitting at all. And so because, if we get a product that we're going to advertise, I'm going to use it. So I started, using the Lucy gum and not even really thinking about it. And the other night I got hammered drunk. And when I'm hammered drunk, I'll vape like 4 or 5 pods. I didn't even reach for it. I'm I'm not vaping anymore. The Lucy, my favorite flavor is the pomegranate. It's got me off of vaping. So aside from the gum, I'm completely, at least smoking wise, nicotine free. So I'm pretty pumped up. Again, that they all taste great, but I find the pomegranate better, and I'll tell you why I like the pomegranate the best. It is because I don't like this. God, this is going to make me sound like a horrible person. When you're drinking booze, the pomegranate flavor doesn't mess up the taste of the booze. Whereas, like, you know, if I'm eating like wintergreen or whatever, I'm like, all right, well, I have to take a break for a second from drinking because I don't want the wintergreen to affect the taste of my drink. But the pomegranate actually, in my opinion, kind of enhances it. So that's what your boy does. He's a drunk, but it's helped me quit smoking. So Lucy, great stuff, guys. It's 2020. Get rid of your cigarettes, unplug your vape, throw out your dip, and get some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each month. It's so simple, and you don't even have to leave your house because Lucy, they got delivery down. WellRED listeners, here's what you do. Go to lucy.co, that's lucy.co, and use promo code RED to get 20% off all products, including gum or lozenges. That's lucy.co, and use promo code RED, R-E-D, at checkout, okay? And also, I have to give this disclaimer, warning, this product contains nicotine derived from tobacco, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. Lucy.co, and be sure to use that promo code RED to help you stop smoking today. All right, guys. And now, our guest this week, one of my favorite dudes in the world, here to talk a little about his libertarian cause in Wyoming, and also to promote his movie Killer Raccoons 2, which has cameos by all three of the WellRED boys. Guys, here's Travis Irvine. Share, download, subscribe, and tell your friends. We love you. Skew.
What are you doing in Wyoming?
I'm doing libertarian party stuff again, just like 4 years ago, where we're trying to get Republicans to vote libertarian instead of Republican. And it's more of a state level. It's for state house races. So we can yap about that. We can reminisce about 2016 and fear for November if you guys want.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, definitely want to do some politicking since you're here, but also like, there's all kinds of shit I could get into with you about the making of that movie and everything.
Yep. Oh yeah. Raccoons too.
Where do you want to start? Like, do you care? Do you want to start with that? You want to start with just some bullshitting and we'll get to that a little later?
It's up to you guys, honestly. I'm prepared for whatever. I've kind of done it both ways. We start with Raccoons and then get on to other stuff, or we start politics and then go to Raccoons.
So what do you think, Joe?
It's up to you. Let me adjust my light a little bit here.
The only thing I'll say, just from how I know it normally goes, if we want to touch on Raccoons, we probably need to do that first, because if we start talking politics, there's a good chance that like we won't be able to shift from politics to talking about Raccoons as easily as we would be able to shift from Raccoons to talk about politics, if that makes sense.
Sounds good to me.
Like, I think once we start going down that, like this what we're going to be doing for the rest of the time.
Yeah. Speaking of time, Irvine, we're going to try to do about 30 here.
Oh, great.
So,
that's great. Yep.
All right.
Perfect. I got to go knock on Redneck's doors in an hour.
What part of Wyoming are you in?
I'm in Casper today.
Oh, I've been to Casper.
Yeah, and then we've been in Riverton, Saratoga, and Rock Springs.
Man.
And then we go to South Dakota later this week.
Oh, good for you. You're doing the Lord's work.
Something like that.
Yeah.
These people are crazy.
Yeah, they're a different breed out there, man, but the sweet ones are sweeter than pie.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Laramie was a lot of fun. That was probably my favorite. It's the most liberal city in Wyoming.
I found that like the Wyoming, like, you know, like when I was up there, they were like, "Oh, you're from the South, you know, Southern hospitality, yada yada," and I felt it. I felt it way more in Wyoming than I really like ever, because up there, like, we have it down here, but it's still kind of like a, we're taking care of you, but like we're definitely judging you, almost to your face sometimes, just being kind of tongue in cheek about it. But in Wyoming, the nice people were just nice. I guess what it is that they're not as religious, really, is what it is. Like they're equally sweet, but they don't have as much God. So it's just, hey, stay on my porch and fuck my daughter or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter.
Maybe they just haven't seen anybody in months.
Yeah. So if you're different,
it's like, please just stay on my porch. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, shit. Here we are. Here we are. We are here with a friend of the podcast. Y'all know him. Y'all love him, Mr. Travis Irvine. You talk about a multi-hyphenate, this guy. Political impresario, stand-up comedian extraordinaire, and also writer and director of the #1 comedy in America, is what I heard. It's called Killer Raccoons 2, Dark Christmas in the Dark. Travis Irvine, everybody. What's up?
Hello, boys. It's good to be back with you, virtual or otherwise.
Can I just say to everybody out there listening, the movie is as funny as the title, which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'll just add to all your listeners, it is the #1 new comedy in America because it is the only new comedy in America.
You're goddamn right.
So by default, baby, we did it. All it took was a global pandemic and an economic meltdown.
I was very curious if you were going to bury the lead or just rock with it, you know?
I'm rocking. I will continue
just
to
be
bring
like,
that
look,
up.
we're #1 and not
I'm
even
number
explain
one.
it.
I've never been #1 in anything. I've run for office 3 times. I always come in last place. Except when I ran for mayor, I beat the gay guy and the high school kid. So I got 6th place.
So, all right, let's get into it. At what point? First of all, it's Killer Raccoons 2.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't get a call for Killer Raccoons 1. We were just in Killer Raccoons 2.
Yeah, I made that one in college, and we actually didn't call it Killer Raccoons, although in hindsight we definitely should have. It's a trauma entertainment movie. If you know Trauma, they do all the B, C, even D schlocky movies. And I think we're in the C category because we called ours Coons, Night of the Bandits of the Night. Yeah. It's a real movie. It's actually the 15th anniversary of it this year when we shot it in college. And, it was like a 15-year Forrest Gump moment where we just slowly but surely were like, I guess we probably shouldn't have called it Coons. But, for us, we just want to live in a world where the word Coons only means raccoons.
Raccoons, right.
Yeah. And that's all it should mean. So
I get it. I got so many questions. Did you go to Ohio State?
I went to Ohio University, which is in Appalachia, the piece of Appalachia that goes through Ohio.
Okay. I knew you were an Ohio guy.
Did you know Bryson? Didn't Bryson Turner go to Ohio?
Bryson Turner and I were in the same comedy troupe. In fact, we were in the same comedy class, and we were the only 2 comedy people at Ohio University.
Wow, what a small world.
Yeah.
So how in the hell did you end up making a trauma horror movie about coons, about killer coons? Like, how the fuck did that even happen?
Well, that's going to make me dip into the memory bank. But it all started spring break 2004. I was out camping with the comedy troupe in Florida. I had just seen my first zombie movie, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, the new one with Ving Rhames. And we had just seen that, and we were camping in Florida that night, and raccoons started to attack the camp's food. And it was very strategic, and there was like one on one side of the camp, and he was making the squeaky raccoon sounds to the other one. And I may or may not have consumed quite a bit of what the kids called grass back then. And I looked at my buddy, and I was like, man, has anyone ever made a killer raccoon movie? And this was before, smartphones, so I had to wait till I was back in my dorm room to get on the desktop and log into Internet Explorer and ask Jeeves and search, see if there's ever been a Killer Raccoon movie, and there wasn't, so I got to work. And now here we are 15 years later.
Yeah, but see, right. I mean, that answer doesn't surprise me, but that's just such a Travis Irvine experience right there. Like, I've been high, much. You know what I mean? High ideas I've had, you know what I mean?
Didn't do a goddamn one of them.
Ain't done a goddamn one of them. You come up with Killer Raccoons and just ended up with not one, but 2 movies 15 years later. But, like, that's just wild. And, all right, so we don't have to dwell too much on the OG Coons because, we're here to talk about the sequel.
Right.
At what point did you decide you were going to give the people what they were waiting for, and the much asked for, much clamored after sequel to Coons with Killer Raccoons 2? When did you decide to pursue that? And then I've got some additional questions.
Sure, absolutely. Keep the follow-ups following up.
Yeah.
Well, we made the movie in college for $5,000 and 7 dead frozen raccoons, which we obviously got for $0 from a pest exterminator.
What was his name?
Oh, you can guess it. His name was Dirk, of course.
I was going to say Randy.
Did you pitch to Trauma and they gave you the fight? Like, how did that? Because
No, this was all independent college initiative. This was, this was going to friends and family, asking for money.
so you got it made, and then they wanted it.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, you're going to friends is one thing. I could see you being like, "Hey, I was high and I want to make this Killer Raccoon movie." What is
I left out the high part, but yes.
Okay, right, but like, what does that when you're going to family? What's that pitch look like? Give me the Travis Irvine elevator pitch to the grandma with maybe a little bit of money to give away before she goes on. Like, I want to hear that.
Oh, it's easy. Grandma, this is part of my education. I want to make movies someday, but the only way I can make this movie is if you give me $500.
There you go. All right.
You do that 10 times and you're set for a college movie.
Yeah.
Not for anything.
$500 and or a dead raccoon, whatever.
Yeah. Whatever comes first.
Yeah.
But
I like that Patreon tier, for the low payment of $10 a month or
we will
3
send
dead
you.
raccoons.
Yeah, we will send you a dead frozen raccoon. Yeah, there's plenty of them out there. So, I mean, in Ohio, they're pests. So pest companies are required to kill them. They gas them, they freeze them to make sure they're disease-free, and then they literally throw them away. So I was interviewing a raccoon expert at Ohio State, and I was like, I was just going to use taxidermy raccoons, make it really fun and silly like a puppet show. And he's like, oh, that's $600 a pop. I don't know if you can afford that. I'm like, I definitely can't. And he was like, but check this out. And it just turns out that dead frozen raccoons are a famous prank played amongst the biologist community. Like, they will get dead frozen raccoons, put them in fun positions, and then like leave them in each other's like cars and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
I've seen pictures of dead raccoons like smoking cigarettes and beers and stuff. So that's probably what that is. That's awesome.
That's exactly what it is.
It also, in my opinion, is a very Irvine thing.
That's unbelievable.
You had this high idea for a Killer Raccoon movie, and then turns out there's a whole subculture where they're just literally giving away dead frozen raccoons. You know what I mean?
He falls ass backwards into raccoons, dude. I've never seen that.
Okay. But if it had been like, I don't know, like fucking squirrels, killer squirrels or something, and maybe the squirrel people would have been like, oh, it's going to be tough to get a dead frozen squirrel. Yeah. But if you can make do with dead frozen raccoons, I can get you a truckload by 3.
Yep.
Up to my ass in dead raccoons, son.
Yeah.
Now, if you want a squirrel guy, I got to go all the way to Omaha. But fucking raccoons?
That ain't it.
You call my brother.
Yeah. No, we had seven of them, 6 tiny ones and 1 big one that we called the Mama. And I don't want to spoil the first movie, which is, by the way, available on Trauma Entertainment's their streaming page, which is traumanow.com, and I believe still on their Amazon page, Trauma's channel on Amazon. But we had
I'm
this
buying
big
it tonight.
Absolutely, I'm writing it down right now.
Write it down right now. And that Mama raccoon.
How do you spell trauma for our listeners out there?
Troma. They are cult entertainment all the way. They did the Toxic Avenger.
Oh, dude, I love Toxie.
Yeah,
that's where James Gunn got his start. Was working
Trey
with
Parker,
them.
Matt Stone got their start there too.
That's right. I forgot.
Corey, I didn't know how to spell it either, but I do want to call out how funny that looked. You go now for our listeners, and then you started spelling it, and you were like,
"Yeah, I was typing it. Yeah, for sure."
I didn't fucking know either. Honestly, I kind of thought it was trauma until like 2 years ago.
Dude, I can't spell words that I've heard a million times, so like I damn sure ain't just like going to wing it with some fucking cult movie bullshit that they probably spelled with like a question mark or something.
I didn't exactly. I didn't know about Trey and Matt getting their start there.
Yeah, Trauma distributed their college movie, which was Alfred Packer the Musical, which then Trauma changed to Cannibal the musical,
Mhm.
because Alfred Packer is just kind of a niche Colorado thing. Much in the same way Troma begged us to change the name of our movie to just Killer Raccoons, Night of the Bandits of the Night. But yeah, it was a journey, and it became a cult movie over the years, thanks to Troma, thanks to that Troma audience. So in about 2006, we had the idea of if we ever made a sequel, ever, right? This was like right after I graduated from Ohio University. On TBS that night was a beautiful action movie called Under Siege 2 Dark Territory, which is, I saw it when I was 12 years old, and I could tell it was bad at 12 years old. And that came on, and, you know, me and the boys that we just made, we had just finished Coons, and we had just graduated, and we looked up at the TV, and the ideas started to get planted that if we ever made a sequel to Coons and made Coons 2, we'd put it on a train and make it an entire Under Siege 2 parody. Homage, parody, the whole thing. And that was 2006, and everyone kind of shut up about it for about 7 years until 2013. I was hanging with the guys who were in the cast, the guys at everythingisterrible.com, who were a lot of the original cast members of the first movie. And we were shooting something in Chicago 2013, and they were like, so when are we making Coons 2? And I was like, what? You guys still want to do that? So we picked up what the kids call some grass and watched Under Siege 2 that night, and that's when I started to put together the script again and kind of piece that together. So I got the script done in 2015, started raising the money by 2017, and we shot it all in December 2017. And then we got it done over the years, 2018, 2019, and now 2020. These things take years.
Holy shit, is that when we recorded our parts, 2017?
2018 was when you guys did yours.
God,
absolutely.
That seems like literally just yesterday. I've still got those files on my computer, and every now and then I'll be playing something else on my computer, and then I'll leave for like an hour or two, and I'll come back and put my headphones on, and it has got to
all the way back to,
and it never doesn't crack me up because I've got the raw stuff where we had a bunch of outtakes that I need.
Your guys' outtakes were great. I wanted to use every bit of it. You guys nailed the part, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. So, like, all right, how do you, like, when you're actually going, like, shooting the thing in December or whatever, over that period of time? I mean, you're the director, so you sort of like running everything. Is this like a friends and family situation again, like in terms of, you know, your crew, the equipment, just getting it all done and even knowing what the hell you're doing? I know you did the first one, and you've had a lot of other projects too, but like, how do you even go about wrapping your arms around something like that to begin with?
Well, we knew we would need more money because we had to pay people. You know, we're not in college anymore. We got to buy people food. We got to put people up. We got to get good equipment. So there was three things. I say there's three things to make sure we got to make this happen. Number one, I had to call Dirk again. And I literally called Dirk, and I was like, hey, Dirk, it's Travis. You gave me a bunch of dead frozen.
Hey, Dirk, you remember me? I've been waiting on this phone call for 14 goddamn years.
Yeah.
Where you been? Yeah, I imagine Dirk turning around in a swivel chair when you walk in the door, just holding all the raccoons. Just we've been here the whole time. That's funny.
We've been here. We've been waiting for you. No, he literally was. I told him, I was like, yeah, you gave me dead frozen raccoons 12 years ago. And he was like, oh, yeah, how'd that go? And I was like, pretty good. We're doing it again.
He wasn't at the premiere? What do you mean, how'd that go? What the fuck are you talking about?
He didn't even know that we finished it and that it was a cult movie or anything. I think he's an AOL email, and he lives in Delaware, Ohio. So
say no, ma'am.
Say no more. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So we made sure we had the raccoons. The second thing we needed was a train, because Under Siege 2 is almost entirely on a train, probably about 75% of it. And there's this beautiful, just antique, old-fashioned train. They do train rides for Easter and Christmas. You guys have probably seen those things around.
Oh, yeah.
And we had one in Nelsonville, Ohio, which is, you know, right by where I went to school in Athens, Ohio, at Ohio University. And I was in touch with them probably since 2015 about coming down and trying to shoot a movie there. And in 2017, we nailed the pitch. I went in and pitched it to the board. We went down, and they had this whole engine house where you could fit a whole train car into the engine house, and then we can have our crew and our lights on the train. It can all be inside. So, we're shooting in the winter during Christmas time because it is a Christmas.
Ohio, that's rough.
In a Christmas movie. There were a couple of days that were rough, but we were nice and warm inside this engine house. So if it wasn't for that and the fact that they gave it to us for about $25 a day, we just had to tip the guy who moved the train cars and stuff. Those two things made it possible. And then we raised $50,000 to kind of get through the thing. Now you guys know how movie projects go. We probably had to raise like $25,000 for the train shoot in December 2017. And we raised another $5,000 for reshoots, and then another $5,000 to shoot stuff in LA with a lot of our mutual comedy friends. And then you raise it in chunks, But at the end of the day, we got about $50,000 to do this thing. And it was just the Ohio independent filmmaker spirit. We got a lot of people. We had like 12, 15 interns from Ohio University, all working for college credit. And, I slept on a couch for 2 weeks at my buddy's, who was also the star of the movie. And, that's just how you do it. It was in between. It wasn't the professional filmmaking and it wasn't college filmmaking.
Right.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah. You had a budget. You had an actual set. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's legit,
and good equipment, good cameras, knowledgeable crew who knew how to work fast and efficiently. So it was a big undertaking, and we've all said we can never do a movie like this ever again because it'll completely wear us out. I mean, post-production, unusually enough, took way longer than I thought. I mean, it was all of 2018, about half of 2019 before we got this thing to a distributor. And even then, they were like, "You got to fix some things."
So you don't foresee a future Killer Raccoons 3 like on a boat, as an homage to Speed 2?
Bro, there will be a Trash Pandas 3 Moonbase on the moon, and it'll be all sci-fi homages to Star Wars. Was it Return of the Jedi, Star Trek 3, Search for Spock, and Aliens 3, which is David Fincher's first studio movie, which was a disaster, most people say.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can look forward to that.
Fall into a volcano with holding the raccoon in its chest cavity.
The whole thing, man. The whole thing.
Got the climax right there.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Return of the Jedi works well with it, too, because I was going to have some Ewoks. There's going to be, like, friendly raccoons, and there's going to be, like, evil raccoons in the third one.
That's great.
Yeah.
Already got it planned out. My man.
Here's how it starts. An asteroid hits the big trash pile in the Atlantic Ocean, and trash water floods the coast. Who loves trash and water? Raccoons. It writes itself.
It really does.
Yeah. And then the government's stationing a moon base on the moon. So there you go.
I'm there. So you mentioned earlier, number one new comedy in America because of the situation. But like, where's it all? Like, you've got it all over the place. Where can people find this masterpiece?
You can find it on iTunes and Amazon. I'm told are the easiest and most profitable. But it is also on all kinds of cable networks, Dish TV, Direct TV. Whatever your cable network is, they have a movies section, and you can rent it or buy it from there as well. So I think I sent you guys some links. There's so many links where you can find it. I always kind of tell people it's everywhere and nowhere because it's not on like Netflix or anything like that. So, but it is findable, and then there will be a DVD release in October as well. So, and then we want to do another push, obviously, for the holidays. If things are opening up, that would be great. I know we're screening in Cleveland this coming weekend, August the 28th. So if you're near Chagrin Falls in Cleveland, which I don't know who is.
Dude, we have a ton of fans in that little pocket.
The Chagrin
the greater Chagrin area, I should say. Not necessarily Chagrin.
We all need more Chagrin as we look in our lives.
Well, hell yeah, man. That's awesome. And I got, again, just the level of fucking respect, brother, for
without a doubt
completing not one but two Killer Raccoon movies is just off the charts for me. Like, that's fucking awesome.
Last time me and Trey got high, we couldn't even finish watching a movie.
Right. So yeah, that's awesome.
Full length features.
Yeah,
full length features. It's
unbelievable.
hard, and what's so crazy is it's so much work to get it done, and then you're always guaranteed at least 30% of the people who see it are gonna fucking hate it. Which is a guarantee. All of our reviews, and it's the same for the first movie. It's all 10 stars or 1 star. Right. It's all people are like, I love it, I get it, and I'm going to show my family. And then the other people are like, this is not a real movie.
Yeah, it's right. It definitely seems like it's one of those things where people are they're either on board or they're not.
Yeah,
and if they're on board, they fucking love it. They're all about it. And if they're not, they're like, oh, fuck this.
That's why we try to make the titles, like Drew was saying, as silly as possible so people understand what they're getting into before they turn it on.
Well, I, for one, am fully in, and I think everybody should go check it out. It was also the WellRED Comedy Trio's debut as voice actors, at least as a trio. So, I mean, if only for that part of history, that little bit of trivia, if you really want to be a part of something bigger than yourself, and I know that we all do, then you need to go check out Killer Raccoons, too.
Absolutely. But we're not letting Travis go just yet. If y'all remember his previous appearances on the show, this guy knows his shit politics-wise and has got a lot of connections and experience in the world of libertarianism. And we could just get into all of it. You're in Wyoming right now spreading the gospel of libertarianism among the good people of the I have no idea what state Wyoming is. It ain't Big Sky. What do they call Wyoming? Just the Remember Us state?
We're still here. State.
Yeah. How's that going, buddy?
It's very interesting. I mean, like a lot of us, COVID, I had big LA dreams to be there with you and you guys, Trey and Drew, out in LA, and those got fizzled out by COVID. I was in Ohio for long enough, but what's happening here is a thing called the Frontier Project that the Libertarian Party is sponsoring. And instead of throwing all of our money, weight, and energy into a presidential campaign that is going to be doomed, to get blamed for whoever wins, which is always what happens. We're putting our resources into local elections. And in this case, we're running locally elected officials for the state house. And a state like Wyoming, everybody just votes Republican all the time, and all these Republicans keep running unopposed. So in Wyoming, the Libertarians have good ballot access. And we've got 4 or 5 races here. I think it's even more, but we're focusing specifically on 4 or 5 where we've got...
I'd say in Wyoming it's only 2 or 3.
All right, fair enough. But we are working on a couple of state house races where it's the Libertarian and the Republican. And the Democrats and unaffiliateds and independents are probably going to go for Libertarian. And then our job is to try to pull a few more Republicans with us and start trying to turn the state legislature in a more libertarian direction instead of this Trumpy authoritarian Republican direction that we've seen in the last 4 years. So, it kind of doubles down. I think what we talked about even 4 years ago, and that, short of having multi-party system in this country, which I wish we had. I wish we had a parliament system where we had 5, 7 legitimate, credible political parties.
Be great.
But short of that, I want to see the libertarians, all these Ron Paul kids, take over the right. And I love seeing all these progressives and Bernie kids take over the left. Because at the end of the day, progressives and libertarians have worked on issues we agree on since 9/11. You look back at who voted against the Patriot Act and who voted against the Iraq War is Ron Paul and Bernie Sanders in the Congress and guys like Russ Feingold and Lincoln Chafee in the Senate. So that's kind of what this is. It's trying to pull all these Republicans, especially in a place like Wyoming, more in a libertarian direction and stop making them realize that the Republicans don't necessarily have their best interests at heart.
How's that going?
Oh, it's failing. It's failing miserably. What are you talking about? I've been threatened with guns.
You'll have that.
Guys tell me to come in and sleep with their wife in front of them. I'm just like, the Wyoming's crazy. That should be their new state slogan.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm seeing a through line here, whether it's sort of trauma films or libertarianism. You really like things that are great as long as you don't take them too seriously.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. I mean, there's big things. I mean, this entire defund the police movement. I mean, libertarians are marching in the streets with progressives on this. I mean, this is something I've been talking about the last few months. I've been writing about it. I don't understand how conservatives don't understand that, a multi-million-dollar police force beating people up and killing people, murdering people. That's like the definition of big government run amok.
They understand it. They're
just okay with it.
They're just, well, that's, yeah. I mean, every now and then you're like, well, a broken clock. You know what I'm saying? A broken clock. So yeah, no, they fucking get it. That part just hits for them, so they don't give a shit.
It's so strange. I mean, I credit where credit's due. Libertarians are out there, at least in Ohio. We were all out there marching against the Columbus police. So I'm sure, if you guys had the chance in LA, right? I mean, LA, did they defund some of their police? Did they end up doing some cuts?
They did some cuts. It was a drop in the bucket for most people. But they've been working on the sheriff's department. I mean, dude, even from before all the shit that went down recently with Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, they've been camping out in front of Jackie Lacey, the DA's office, for months even before that. And they've made some strides with that movement even before this stuff.
Right. I mean, that's a whole nother aspect of it. It's not just the cops, it's the whole system. So it's the DAs, it's the prosecutors. You got to start getting more progressives and libertarians elected to these offices. It's, Justin Amash is the only libertarian congressman right now, and they ended up getting, with Democrats, with the Democratic majority in Congress, they ended up getting ending qualified immunity passed, because that's a whole other aspect that, it's not even a written law. It's just a Supreme Court case from 1967 where cops, as long as they're doing their job, no civil charges can ever be brought against them. That means no wrongful death. That means no suing for any type of compensation. It's the justice system in this country, I'm sure you guys all know and your listeners all know, is so messed up. And it's so scaled against working people and people of color. And it's something we got to change. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we got to do it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to talk to people out there who are very, I would say a lot of our fans, skeptical of anyone claiming to be libertarian and libertarian politicians in general, because they align with the right, because they don't trust Ron Paul, et cetera, et cetera. Talk a little bit about what the libertarian platform is as it relates to the justice system, or any other issues you want to.
Oh, sure. I mean, when I ran for governor in 2018, criminal justice was a huge part of my platform. We had an opioid crisis in Ohio that, they keep both parties, Democrats and Republicans, treat like it's a criminal problem. And at the end of the day, addiction and addiction to drugs specifically, it's not something you can just throw people in jail and hope they get better. Addiction is a health problem. And I think that's what the BLM movement has really exposed, too. It's like in a city like Columbus, Ohio, where we spend $360 million on our police, which is 37% of the city's budget. And then you look at what we spend on public health, and it's, 2 to 5% of the city's budget. And it's the same on a state level. We got a multi-billion-dollar prison system in the state of Ohio that you can cut down by just treating addicts as a health problem. And of course, I would add for your listeners, libertarians in that same realm are very much in favor of decriminalizing marijuana, medical marijuana, and even full legalization of marijuana, which would, and also expunging all the sentences of, the 2.5 million Americans who are in jail just because of marijuana. Those are some of the ways progressives and libertarians align on criminal justice. And again,
I think anybody who's against that last part is a monster.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And you get 2.5 million people out of jail. What are we going to do about the workforce? Well, they can work on fucking pot farms because they should be the ones profiting from them anyways. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you there's at least 2.5 million jobs in pot coming up here in the next few fucking years because of how much it's about to explode. So I agree. And you're just a lunatic. Like if you're a suburban housewife, if you're one of these, Trump's base or whatever, and you're sitting there and now you live in a place where you can get your 10 milligram gummy and you just take it just for your stress because you need it. And isn't this neat? We can go to a store and get a soda with weed in it, but you think that those people, they sold it and go fuck yourself. I'll say that and then I'll quit.
I agree. And following up fucking yourself. My follow-up is this, and I'm genuinely curious to answer because I have a poli-sci degree. I stay up on things, but I know what libertarian is in a textbook. So I'm genuinely curious. You talk about defunding the police and then the drugs being a health care crisis, but is a libertarian going to have a problem with the government spending a lot of money on health care because it's such a small government platform in the first place? Or is part of the current libertarian platform to transfer the money from the police to the healthcare system?
Well, I'm more into the hybrid, again, of progressives and libertarians working together. So while, libertarianism and the Libertarian Party would traditionally call for any police funding that's not necessary to just go back into the pockets of the people. It's the same way I feel about the military budget. If you took $700 billion military budget, which most rational people think is ridiculous, and you take, let's say we're fine spending $100 billion on military. Okay. Then I'm fine with $300 billion going into progressive causes, to make my progressive friends happy, and I'm fine with $300 billion going back into the taxpayers' pockets. I'm fine with compromises, but I want more progressive and libertarian compromises, not whatever these big corporate Democrats and Republicans are doing. So, ideologically, there's things with libertarianism that I don't always agree with. I'm more of a pragmatic libertarian. Even Gary Johnson, when he was governor of New Mexico, he always said he was fine with the Medicare and Medicaid funding coming in from the federal government into New Mexico, but he always complained that with every dollar of Medicare, Medicaid money he got, there was about 80 cents of attached strings and red tape and bureaucracy. So what happens is when you're a state and you get that money from the federal government, not much of that is even going towards the cause it's supposed to go to. So, again, I'm always going to be siding with progressives and libertarians working together. But I love the Bernie folks. You guys know I donated to Bernie. I really wanted the Democrats to go in a more progressive direction. It certainly would have made me vote for Bernie in 2016 if he was the candidate. But we'll see. We'll see what happens now. I mean, it's Joe Biden versus Trump, and it's a bizarre year. Just when you thought 2016 was the weirdest one, it's like, hello, I'm 2020.
I want you to talk about how bizarre this year is, but real quick, just because I think this is all new to a lot of people who assume every libertarian is somebody like the Bundy Ranch people with guns or whatever. No. Can you explain, just so people can wrap their head around it, how a libertarian can be pro-Bernie when, according to our media, you couldn't be any different, One's a big government socialist, and the other one hates that.
Yeah. Again, Bernie voted against the Patriot Act. He voted against the Iraq War, along with Ron Paul. They were both in Congress back at that time. Since Bernie has gotten to the Senate, he has worked with senators like Mike Lee to curb the president's war-making powers. The president cannot just declare a war with an executive action. That is something that the Congress must do. And so Bernie Sanders and Mike Lee led that charge. It was to get the United States out of Yemen. That was just last year, and it passed the Senate, and then Trump vetoed it. So there's plenty of things I like about Bernie. I like, and that's the other thing to probably point out is that in college, during the Bush-Cheney years, I was a progressive. And then I only moved more in the libertarian direction because I saw Ron Paul, who was this anti-war Republican. And I think that's what really comes down to for me is, are we going to keep spending $700 billion taxpayer dollars a year on the military, or are we going to start reinvesting that in our country on progressive causes, or just starting to give people some of their money back instead of blowing it overseas all the time? So that's what I like about Bernie. He's anti-war, he's pro-civil liberties, he's anti-drug war, he's pro-legalization of marijuana. And I think the other thing with Bernie that you've seen since he was a mayor of Burlington is that he will use taxpayer dollars on things that actually help taxpayers. And that's what I like about progressives.
Hell yeah, I dig that. Uh,
Hell yeah, and then also Killer Raccoons too. Dark Christmas in the Dark on Amazon, iTunes right now.
Well, I was
Check it
going
out.
to say, if you were the right wing in this country, this would be the raddest fucking country in America. Like if
I
that's
know.
what the
Could
right
you
wing
imagine?
was.
sir.
I'm telling you, Senator Trey Crowder from Tennessee and Senator
Boo.
Travis Irvine from Ohio. Today they pitched a legalized porn and weed package, and at the federal level, I think we would crush it.
And they were flogged with sticks immediately.
Immediately by the older
Immediately.
generation.
Yes.
Hey, how about Jerry Falwell's son turning out to be a cuckold? What
Oh, it's
in the
great.
world is going on?
It's so
2020.
great.
For
I mean, it's
his world, is that worse or better?
well,
Than
what I
what people used to think, which is that was his boyfriend.
Well, it's like, God was always watching in the Bible when people were fucking down on earth.
on my
You better lay with your father and
Yeah,
beget
and
me
Joseph-
some more humans.
And Joseph fucked his girl, presumably after
Yeah.
she had Jesus.
we
That's
talked
right.
we talked about it on my other podcast this morning, Through the Screen Door with Corey Ryan Forster, critically acclaimed new podcast. We were discussing it, and my co-host Matt Cooney's like, how does this make a guy like Jerry Falwell look? And I was like, man, honestly, because this dude lives in a completely different world than I've ever lived in that I can't even fathom. But like, to his base, I think blaming a woman is always the move. You know what I mean? like really, no matter what it is, it's like I was doing
He's
my
a
best.
harlot.
I just
Yeah,
think that there's going to be a lot of people like, see,
Yeah.
he was trying his best. Like I
He was
just think
trying his best.
he at least, I mean, he page one of the playbook at least, whether it works or not. The man was running it 32 dive up the middle, and it's worked every other goddamn time. So why wouldn't?
Listen, who among us ain't paid an immigrant to do a job I wasn't willing to do?
Heard
And
that.
Wow, there you go. There you go.
Who do you
Jerry
think
Falwell
edits this
Jr.
podcast?
I hope it's an immigrant who's fucking your wife. That's all I'm gonna say.
Lord, me too. Something else
All
I'm
right.
gonna have to do.
Well, with that, let's say goodbye to Travis, everybody. Thank you very much, Travis. It's always a pleasure, buddy. And
We love
Killer
you.
Raccoons 2, Dark Christmas in the Dark.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Got it. Available everywhere. Go check it out. iTunes, Amazon. Writer-director Travis Irvine. Always
love
a
you,
pleasure,
buddy.
dog. Yeah.
Thanks,
Love
Travis.
you guys. Here's to better things in 2016.
Amen.
See you, dog.